Hello there, my name is Mark Williamson. I work for a charity called One Rock International, and I'd love to share with you some thoughts on Jesus on leadership. So, I've been studying leadership for probably 20, 25 years. I believe that these six areas are the best summary of what is leadership. If you disagree with that, do give me an email. We don't have a huge amount of time to get into that. But in essence, I think it's these six things: vision. Great leaders are really effective at discerning or creating a vision and then being able to share it in an inspiring way with others. Planning, they can then take that vision and turn it into a strategy and an action plan, and almost what is the to-do list for today in order to make the vision become reality. Communication, they're brilliant at communicating vision, but communicating goals, strategy, feedback, all the different skills that leaders need to be able to do in communicating, which is both talking and listening. Building teams, gathering people together to be able to work on a common goal. Coaching, helping others get better, developing their own skills so that they can outperform what they normally could do. And integrity, having the moral character to be trustworthy and inspirational. And I think those six skills are true across the board. So no matter what area it is you lead in, whether it is in church or charity or sports or business, and I've got some pictures of famous people there that you'll recognize, it's the same six skills that effective leaders have to be good at doing. Interesting side note, actually, where can we learn some of those skills from? I study leadership through a lot of now biographies of other leaders. And I found that in terms of planning, the best place to go for good planning tips is usually business biographies. In terms of communication, it's often political biographies because a politician has to be good at communicating with individuals and with large groups. In terms of building teams, it's sports biographies. Could be football, could be baseball, basketball, almost whatever is your team sport of choice. Those are the places where we can get amazing tips on how to develop our team building skills. Where do we go for coaching? Partly sports, partly business. I just feel like, the church should be the experts in personal transformation and growth. Won't it be an amazing day when people who want to study coaching come to the church to learn those skills because they realize, wow, we have the best handle on how to encourage others in growth. So I think it's those six core skills, and I've put those four in the middle in white because they are definite skills that can be learned. And then the vision and integrity that are almost bookends of that. It's part skill, but it's also part character. It's a huge part, actually, that in terms of relationship with God. But I think it's those six areas where we need to grow to be effective as leaders. Now, how does this relate to Jesus? Jesus was clearly excellent in all of these areas, but we don't have much information in terms of how he did it. Now, he's clearly superb at sharing vision. He must have been incredible at planning, at time management. He's able to achieve in 3 years far more than most of us can achieve in a lifetime. He must have been brilliant at time management, but we don't know a lot about how he did it. Communication, maybe a bit more. Yes, we can study his parables and how he taught, but building teams, again, he must have been phenomenal at building teams. He's got people on his team like Levi, Matthew the tax collector, who was collaborating with the Roman occupiers. And he's got people on his team like Judas Iscariot and Simon the Zealot, who were probably freedom fighters that wanted to kill originally people like Matthew that they saw as betrayers and collaborators. And Jesus somehow brings this group together to be an effective team. He was clearly amazing at that, but we don't have much information on how he did it. So a lot of our learning of leadership ends up going to these other places to learn how to develop the skills. So what is it that is unique that Jesus brings to leadership that we can learn from? I think it's in the whole area of values. Jesus totally revolutionized the values that we should bring to the subject of leadership. I've put 5 verses up there. You can look at those separately and see what Jesus talks about in those in terms of, what is it? I only do what I see the Father doing. Mark chapter 10, the famous thing on not even the Son of Man came to serve, To be served, but to serve, and the Gentiles lord it over others, but it shouldn't be that way with you. John 13, the famous foot washing at the start of the Last Supper. John 15, the new commandment, love one another. John chapter 18, when he's being arrested. I love the phrase that he uses there. If you're looking for me, let these people go. The way that he protects people that he's leading. So from that, I've created a list of what I see as 8 core values in the life of Jesus that we should seek to live out as leaders. First is spirit-led. Now, Jesus says, I only do what I see the Father doing. We should be doing the things that God is doing or seeking to do. We want everything that we do to be led by, anointed by the Spirit. Humility. Jesus totally transformed leadership by bringing in this value. If you'd have asked any Roman official or Caesar at the time, what's a great criteria for leadership? None of them would have said humility, but Jesus brought in this perspective. And then it links to things like service. He came not to be served, but to serve. And therefore, all leaders in a position of responsibility should be there not for themselves, but to serve others. We're called to serve to the point of sacrifice. That's what Jesus does. He doesn't only serve when it's within his comfort zone. He serves to the point where it is deeply uncomfortable. He goes to the cross. He serves to the point of sacrifice. Love. Jesus says, love one another. This is this command that I am giving you. Our leadership should be infused with love for the people that we are leading, and then for the people that we are leading to work with others. Linked with that, friendship. Jesus says to his disciples, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends, because you know what it is that I'm about, what my business is. Are we therefore not to create a distance between us and those that we are leading, but actually to become friends? I think that's mind-blowing. If Jesus, who is God in human form, had best friends on his team that he was leading, people like Peter, James, and John, when he's praying in Gethsemane, and he wants to have close friends with him, he brings those people there. And how much more should we as leaders not be ashamed of becoming close friends with the people that we are leading? Protection, I talked about when he's being arrested. If you're looking for me, let these people go. And that links with being courageous in standing up for the people that we're leading, standing up against injustice, thinking as well about, say, the woman accused of adultery in John's Gospel, and the way that Jesus is courageous in protecting her and stepping up to confront an injustice. So what I've done through that is tried to group these together. And I've put them in these 5 groups, and I've added in an extra one of investment and empowerment, which maybe you could talk about as getting into a skill, but is such a core part of Jesus's ethos. I think spirit-led and humility obviously fit together, service and sacrifice, love and friendship. You can see that, those pairs. So if those are Jesus's values, what would be the opposite of living out those values? Well, the opposite of being spirit-led, being totally open to God, and having humility, recognizing that we can't do it on our own, is surely pride, thinking that we can do it all on our own. I don't need God's help. I don't need other people's help. I'm self-contained. I'm all there is to know on this. Pride is the total opposite of the spirit Jesus wants to bring to leadership. The opposite of service and sacrifice would be selfishness, doing it all for ourselves instead of doing it to serve others. The opposite of love and friendship, I think, in leadership becomes manipulation. Well, I don't care about you as a person. I'm not interested in building a friendship. I'm just using you as a tool to be able to achieve my own ends. That's manipulation. The opposite of courage and protection would be cowardice. Being afraid is often a thing that all leaders, I think, struggle with at different points, being afraid of stepping up. But when that fear leads to paralysis, it actually becomes cowardice. It's not the absence of fear that is the mark of a great leader. It's pushing through the fear and saying, hey, there's uncertainty. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Maybe this is going to be rejected, but we're still going to continue because it's the right thing to do. And the opposite of investment An empowerment of others in our leadership is insecurity. When it's like, no, I want to have all of the limelight. I want to suppress others. I don't want them to be able to grow and develop because I'm insecure. I'm afraid that that is somehow going to steal away from my opportunities or from my ego. So if those are the opposite of Jesus's values, what's the result of living out in those ways? Well, pride goes before a fall. If we lead out of a spirit of pride, it's going to lead to moral failure. And there's so many stories of money, sex, and power tripping up leaders that you don't need to go into detail into that. The opposite, what is the result of leading out of a spirit of selfishness? I think it creates this sense of unhealthy rivalry within different team members. Then we're no longer all pulling in the same direction. It becomes, hey, how can I be considered top dog within this team? Selfishness creates this unhealthy competition and rivalry. Manipulation leads to loneliness on people on the team because they feel isolated, and for the leader. You know, the classic phrase, it's lonely at the top, doesn't have to be true. That happens if we are leaders who are manipulative and are not operating out of love and friendship for those we are leading. What's the result of cowardice in our leadership? It's stagnation. It's not achieving anything. It's not making progress because we're afraid to stick our head above the parapet and say, hey, let's try this. Let's go in this direction. And what is the result of insecurity in our leadership? Ultimately, it's decline. It's losing team members or maybe losing quality team members and having them become replaced with people who are less able, because why would people who are able and good quality want to remain a part of a team where they're not getting any opportunities to grow, where they're not getting any opportunities to do what they do best and to shine? If as a leader, you're not giving that platform and that opportunity, you'll start to see decline in the quality of your team. You'll start to see decline in the quality of your results. So all that to say, therefore, if that's the result of poor leadership, the opposite of Jesus's values, what's the good result of leading according to Jesus's values? I'd say that the result of leading with spirit-led and humility is anointing. It's God's Holy Spirit being a part of what we are doing, surely something that we all need. What happens if we lead with a spirit of service and sacrifice? It builds amazing trust within our team. And there's so much leadership and management material now that talks about the crucial importance of trust in order for us to achieve anything. What's the result of having love and friendship as part of our leadership? It's building this sense of community, well-being. And again, so much of the current management literature is talking about the importance of community in order to achieve great results. What happens when we fill our leadership with courage and protection? I think we provide inspiration. We inspire people that we are leading when they see, wow, this person is not afraid. Or maybe even this person is afraid, but is still stepping out for what is right. That inspires me to follow them or to think, hey, and I also can step out and do what is right. And what's the result of investing and empowering others? Loyalty. Actually, it's not losing people, it's gaining their hearts and their desire to be a part of what we are doing more over the long term. It creates this bond of loyalty when you invest in another person. Not to say that they might not eventually move on, obviously, as God gives other opportunities or calls to different seasons in life, but there will still be this bond of loyalty that is shared across who knows how big a geographical distance now, across the years, because of how you have been able to invest in that person. I think those good results are what we want to see in leadership. And I think that that's what happens when we lead in the way that Jesus calls us to lead. So which of these areas do you want to grow the most in? Which of those 10 values or which of those 5 results do you most want the more of? And what do you need to do for that? Here's a great challenge to think, what would you like to move from and then to? You know, maybe you want to move from being a leader who is fearful of rejection from those that they are seeking to lead, or not seeing success, towards becoming a leader who is more courageous and therefore more inspirational. Or maybe you want to move from being a leader who is feeling lonely and isolated to being a leader who has community and is living out this love and this friendship stuff. That was a very brief overview of some of what Jesus brings to leadership. If you'd like to know more on that, we've developed a course that explores all of this more, called Jesus on Leadership. You can get in touch with us at One Rock International, visit our website, give me an email, mark@onerockinternational.com. I will happily share with you the course as a PDF, and you can look at these sessions and think, how can I bring more of these values? And you can also connect with me on Twitter. Hope this helps. God bless you in your life and leadership.